The clock is ticking on a decision that could define the Eagles' future for years to come, my friend. Picture this scenario. The defensive tackle who made the most important play of the entire Super Bowl run. The guy who at 25 years old is widely considered one of the most dominant players at his position in the entire NFL. A player the Eagles went out and traded up to grab with the 9th overall pick of the 2023 draft, is sitting around waiting on a contract offer that never came with the right numbers. The same franchise that has the habit of locking up their young stars before anyone else does. The Eagles paid Jalen Hurts, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, and Devonta Smith all before May in recent years. Is this time pumping the brakes, analyzing the situation with a level of caution that is simply not common in Philadelphia? And as the calendar pushes closer to July's training camp, the window for a deal keeps shrinking week by week. The market at the position was just completely reset by a rival team. A new record was broken, and still, the check has not been written. Why are the Eagles hesitating to pay a massive extension to what might be the best defensive tackle in the NFL? I'm going to walk you through the 4 concrete reasons that are keeping Howie Roseman on the defensive, and what each one of them means for the future of Philadelphia's championship defense. But first, if you are a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because this decision could completely reshape the direction of the team that won the Super Bowl in 2025. To understand the full weight of this situation, you need to know what happened just a few days ago. On June 19, 2026, the Tennessee Titans made it official with their defensive tackle. A 3-year deal worth $105.8 million, with $100 million guaranteed and a jaw-dropping average annual value of $35.3 million per season, making that player the highest-paid defensive tackle in NFL history. That number shattered the previous record held by Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, who was earning $31.75 million per year. Somewhere in Philadelphia, the agent representing the Eagles' own defensive tackle was smiling at that news, because the floor for any serious extension negotiation at the position just went up considerably, and the pressure on Howie Roseman to get a deal done only increased. That defensive tackle, the player at the center of all of this, is none other than Jalen Carter, number 98, Super Bowl LIX champion, the man behind some of the most pivotal plays of the playoff run, and a cornerstone of the most dominant defensive line Philadelphia has fielded in years. The first reason the Eagles are holding back on the check starts directly with the 2025 season statistics. Carter played in just 11 games, recording 41 pressures, 12 QB hits, 3 sacks, 7 passes defended, and 5 tackles for loss. Looking at those numbers in isolation, they seem reasonable for an interior defensive tackle. But when you put them side by side with the season before, the picture changes completely. In 2024, the Super Bowl season, Carter led the entire Eagles defense with 45 pressures, 16 QB hits, 12 tackles for loss, and earned second-team All-Pro honors. He was a monster week after week, logging 80% of defensive snaps in the regular season and 86% in the playoffs. In the legendary divisional round game against the Rams, Carter recorded 2 sacks, 6 pressures, and a forced fumble in the fourth quarter that directly set up the go-ahead field goal. That is the Jalen Carter the Eagles paid to have. The problem is that in 2025, that level of consistent dominance simply did not show up. Tackles for loss dropped from 12 to just 5. Forced fumbles were 0. Sacks fell 2. Carter still made the Pro Bowl, but the Eagles want the player they saw in 2024, not a reduced version of him. And to justify $35 million a year, you need to produce like the best at your position every single week, no exceptions. But the drop in production was not from a lack of talent or desire. And here we arrive at the second reason, probably the most concerning one for the organization. Carter spent practically the entire 2025 season dealing with injuries to both shoulders, in enough physical discomfort that he simply could not lift weights for the entire duration of the campaign. Think about what that means for a 314-pound defensive tackle who needs to move 300-pound linemen every single week. Without regular strength training over 18 weeks, explosiveness, base strength, and muscular endurance progressively break down. Carter had already missed parts of training camp with the issue before the regular season even began. He aggravated the injury in Week 3 during a game. He sat out completely in Week 6, and he missed 3 more games in December after undergoing a medical procedure. In total, Carter played in fewer than 2/3 of the regular season games, and to make the current situation even more troubling, during the 2026 mandatory minicamp, Carter chose not to participate in team drills, precisely the moment when the franchise would need to see the opposite. A player 100% committed, healthy, and hungry to prove he is back. The Eagles' concern is completely legitimate. If Carter cannot stay healthy enough to even train normally throughout a season, how can Philadelphia commit to a 3- or 4-year contract worth over $100 million with full confidence? But the injuries are only part of the story, my friend. The real issue becomes even more complicated when you consider what has happened off the field. Carter carries a behavioral history that raises serious questions about his maturity, and the Eagles need certainty on that front before signing any record-setting check. Last season, he was ejected from the game in Week 1, the season opener against the Dallas Cowboys in prime time, just 6 seconds after the opening kickoff. Dak Prescott had spit in the direction of the Eagles' sideline. Carter responded by spitting toward the Cowboys' quarterback, received the unsportsmanlike conduct flag, and was immediately disqualified. Philadelphia spent an entire game without one of their best defensive players because Carter could not control his emotions within the first 6 seconds of the season. The NFL handed down the standard fine for the incident, but chose not to suspend him. Even so, the episode is a very real stain on his resume, and it adds to a heavier prior history that includes the tragic street racing accident that claimed the lives of Georgia staff member Chandler LaCroix and Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock. These are maturity and accountability issues the Eagles need to see clearly and consistently addressed before handing over the most valuable contract ever given to a defensive tackle. Here is the bottom line on how the Eagles approach contract extensions. Philadelphia has a very clear philosophy, and it does not involve resetting the market or handing the other side full control of a negotiation. They want salary cap-friendly deals, contracts that look massive at the time of the announcement, but that become advantageous for the team over time. Jalen Hurts signed his massive extension in 2023 and was the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL for just 10 days, until Lamar Jackson's numbers surpassed his. Today, Hurts ranks as just the 12th highest-paid quarterback by average annual salary, and he is the only one in league history to win a Super Bowl on a contract worth over $50 million a year. That is not a coincidence. That is Howie Roseman working the salary cap with precision. Landon Dickerson was the highest-paid guard in the league when he signed his extension, and that contract is now clearly on the favorable side for the Eagles. The problem is that Jalen Carter and his agent, the powerful Drew Rosenhaus, want exactly the opposite. They want a deal that resets the market. And with Jeffery Simmons now at the top at $35.3 million per year, with $100 million guaranteed, the floor for any Eagles proposal to Carter has gone up significantly. The front office had hoped to close an extension in the spring of 2026. That did not happen. And in this type of negotiation, silence speaks much louder than any official statement. It is worth noting that this scenario is not entirely new for Philadelphia. Jordan Davis, Carter's fellow Georgia Bulldog, played out the entire 4th year of his rookie contract in 2025 without a new deal, and the Eagles reached an agreement with him earlier in 2026. So it is entirely possible that Carter enters the season without an extension and negotiations continue in parallel throughout the campaign. A deal could still get done before training camp, during the preseason, or at some point during the regular season. What is it going to take to convince the Eagles to open the vault? If Carter shows up to training camp healthy, participates fully in every drill, demonstrates the consistency and the maturity the franchise is demanding, the conversation could shift quickly. But if the shoulders remain a constant limitation, if off-field behavior keeps generating the wrong kind of headlines, Howie Roseman may simply prefer one more full year of observation before committing to the largest contract ever handed to a defensive tackle. With persistent injuries to both shoulders, a clear production drop compared to the Super Bowl season, behavioral issues that continue to follow his resume, an aggressive agent, and a market just reset to $35.3 million per year. What is the smartest move Howie Roseman can make right now? Close the deal, absorb the risk, and keep Jalen Carter happy in Philadelphia for 4 more years, or wait for him to prove his health, his consistency, and his maturity over the course of 2026 before locking in the historic contract. Drop your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to keep you updated with the latest Eagles news.